shall be the objective of a brother to live deliberately and actively, corporately and singly, in such a manner that his every living moment may be an exemplification of the motto of the Brotherhood, Soli Deo Gloria, to God alone the glory, that those persons who may come to know him may by his example be brought the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Well, we began with the idea that we were somehow different, that we were the benefactors and these poor folks desperately needed our help. And at best, what we've come to discover is we're the same. Oftentimes I think we're the ones who need the help, and these folks have the wisdom and experience to know what life is really about. And I think in addition to that, there's a humility of purpose. We realize that we're not going to really change anything. We can demonstrate that things don't have to be the way they are. But as far as the transformation, that happens through the Spirit that's driving the whole thing in the first place, and that's far beyond anything we have control over.
It shall be the objective of a brother to live deliberately and actively, corporately and singly, in such a manner that his every living moment may be an exemplification of the motto of the Brotherhood, Soli Deo Gloria, to God alone the glory, that those persons who may come to know him may by his example be brought the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ.
I had to walk through the hospital district in Boston, and people would stop me along the way and ask for prayer. And that was the first time I had ever encountered that. Trust in the religious folk and an identification that let people know that you were involved and serious about your religion, enough to trust in you their most precious, most difficult, and most important messages to help them find guidance.
When it says to seek and serve the Christ in all persons, that's reflected in our rule. And so as a social worker, that's what I do every day when I work with folks who are very much marginalized and ignored by society. Being present with them allows me to live into those vows, both as a brother and as a Christian.
I'm called upon to say something about the motto of our community, Soli Deo Gloria. The motto was chosen not because it's an old famous Latin tag, but because Johann Sebastian Bach would write it in its initials, SDG, on his manuscripts. As a hallmark of Gregorian life, this motto tells us where we are pointed at. It tells us what our life is all about, or ought to be. And contrary to the spirit of the age, our life is not all about ourselves. Our life is about someone else. So it's very fitting that Bach, such a tremendously wonderful composer, would remind himself at every step of his work that the credit, the reputation, and the honor for what he did do not belong to him, but to God.
You've all vowed to follow Christ and seek him in every man, woman, and child you meet. Keep your eyes open. Look for that Christ. He comes when you least expect it. You may be standing in front of him right now.
A brother must endeavor to witness to our Redeemer's love with quietness, patience, humility, charity, courage, and prayer.
It's transformative is the first word that comes to mind. I had left the church for a number of years, primarily because there was no correlation between what happened on Sunday morning and what happened the rest of the week. And of course, religion was something you did on Sunday morning. And the brothers gradually, little by little, showed me the places where the practice of God's presence kind of slowly seeps into your life and begins to take over. So it's, I asked my wife on one occasion if she thought this was genuine and if this was real, or this was just something we were wishful thinking or something else. And she said, no, it's definitely real. It's a way of life. So it has changed everything, matter of fact.
A brother must endeavor to witness to our Redeemer's love with quietness, patience, humility, charity, courage, and prayer, knowing that it is not he who shall finally bring the light, but only that he shall become a messenger for the one who is the light.
Then we found out that we were the only recovery-oriented housing that was taking men who were diagnosed with serious mental illness or with serious medical problems or with a combination of both. And so we made that our particular focus within the substance abuse realm. It was amazingly successful, and the main thing that we provided for these guys was a safe place to live, both physically and emotionally. They did the work, but they needed that safety in order to be able to do that. As I said, they did the work, we didn't do it. I don't want to take any credit for that. We provided the space for that to happen and the supportive community for that to happen. And that's what we provided that was so important. And we took the guys that nobody else would take. And we lived with them. Their home was our home was theirs. That's a tricky thing, but it's what makes it work. I think it's wonderful. These guys have done more for me, I think, than I've ever done for them. And as I think I've said before, if we go into it with the sense that we're helping those who are less fortunate, we've got the wrong attitude. Because we're the ones very often who are the less fortunate that need to see Christ in people who we'd never think to see Christ in. And, these guys could be difficult sometimes. I'm not saying it was always easy. It could be very challenging. But by and large, they have so much to give if they're given the opportunity. They really do.
Knowing that it is not he who shall finally bring the light, but only that he shall become a messenger for the one who is the light.
Bernard's death happened at a time when my parish was learning how to cope with the cascading deaths that were happening during the AIDS crisis. And that's when we developed, and I think the community probably saw for the first time when Bernard died and came to our parish, the whole process of washing the body in the church, laying the body out in the church, and then singing the Psalter over the overnight, waiting for morning prayer, and then the liturgy in the morning, the funeral mass. That whole process, Bernard was part of helping to develop that and was a benefit of that as well, partly because we were burying so many people we needed to process, and funeral homes at the time did not want to care for people who died of AIDS. And so we had built this whole ritual in conjunction with a funeral home nearby in Boston that was willing to work with us to do that, where they would let us do the care of the body in the church and then would take the body for cremation after the funeral. So Bernard was definitely a key component of that.
Knowing that it is not he who shall finally bring the light, but only that he shall become a messenger for the one who is the light.
I was at a ministry in Oklahoma, feeding ministry in a city park, and a random homeless guy came up and said he saw my cross and he pointed at it and just quite loudly said, "Are you a friar?" And I'm like, why, yes I am. And pointing at my cross. And he goes, "I've seen a cross like that. Do you know a guy named Ron in Chattanooga?" And I said, "Why, yes I do. He's my brother Ron from Chattanooga." And then he told me, and this is, hundreds and hundreds of miles away in Tulsa, and he told me that the homeless people in eastern Tennessee knew that if they could just get to Brother Ron, he would help them.
So in my work and in my life with Christ, I am attempting to focus on what I might do in a very small way to be a witness to his amazing love. When I met Michael, he was living under a bridge in downtown Chattanooga. He had been beaten up for $20, and he now has a slow bleeding in his brain that is taking away his motor skills and his ability to speak. Today, Michael lives in an apartment, but he still depends on us for basic needs and, most importantly, for companionship. One aspect of my work at the community kitchen is the care of the feet of the homeless. I wash and massage their feet and clip their nails, and I try to give them socks and better shoes. My work is a prayer. This morning I cut Michael's toenails. Each toenail is a prayer for his life. Clip. His failing health. Clip. The cockroaches in his apartment. Clip. His decaying teeth. Clip. His lost children he weeps for. Clip. The woman in the grocery who is so kind to him and helps him shop for his groceries. Clip. His mother who died last year. Clip. His doctors who are so helpless to stop the bleeding in his brain. Clip. The crack addicts that bashed his head in for $20, leaving him like this. Clip. All the crack addicts in the world and all the brain-damaged, robbed, and forgotten Michaels who have been the victims of their addiction and brutality. Clip. How can I find such joy in this work? I think it is because I feel somehow blessed. When there is no one left, no mother, no husband, no son, no friend, no drinking buddy, when the bullet hits the bone, God allows me the grace, the deep and astounding privilege to simply be there.
A brother must endeavor to witness to our Redeemer's love with quietness, patience, humility, charity, courage, and prayer, knowing that it is not he who shall finally bring the light, but only that he shall become a messenger for the one who is the light.
It hasn't changed my life, it's become my life, if that makes any sense. I mean, I still do the same things. I mean, I still have a job, I still have a family, I still, go to birthday parties and do all those things. But I just feel internally that I'm a brother.
Will you pattern your life in accordance with the teachings of Christ so that you may be a wholesome example to all people?
I will, God being my help.